Hey!
For the monkeys.
Hey! Thank you so much for joining us, and you get a reward for coming for seeing us now. You are going to hear from Anthony Donahoe, who is going to tell you something that is going to revitalize your world and the world. See, listen to that. Listen to that.
Wow.
Listen to the wow. I mean, wouldn't that just change your life if you just instead of saying hello, you said wow?
Well, this is what we're gonna do, and you be the judge out there, world. We're in here, world, and we're out there in your world, from your world. We do a thing called body dialogue and societal issues or social issues, and we're going to play with perhaps some personal issues in a body dialogue process, and ideally, depending on the time, we'll also maybe, and this is where I'm just centering on this space here, we're also going to maybe look at societal issues, but I think I want to play with personal issues first, and Mike, I don't know if I can use you as a, all right.
Yeah, my name is Michael Koran, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
I'm the host.
Okay.
In case you forget it. You do feel he's taking over the show. But
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
No, you can.
No. I just wanted to frame myself a little bit. So that's where I'm at, and then Michael, take it away.
No, you're doing fine. Don't let your psyche tell you otherwise.
All right. Well, there was something you were saying when we were walking here about
Bad news, Noam. One of my heroes, really. Noam Chomsky, one of the most listened to prophets of our lifetime. He used to teach at MIT, won many awards in linguistics, written about 100 books. Bad News Noam, you can see this on YouTube now, says the world looks like it's doomed. I don't want to break this to you. I know it's a nice, lovely day, but he thinks that the human species is in big doo-doo.
And what's his point?
For 3 reasons. And he looks like a prophet now. He's big beard, hair. He's talking in his late 80s from Arizona. Remarried a young woman after his wife died.
Really? Okay.
But even with even be remarried, Bad News Noam thinks that global warming, nuclear war, or the third was surprising, the lack of rational discourse.
I would say that's primary because that could actually help the other two. And that's why I'm into the dialogue process. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good connection. Rational discourse. And then, of course, the discourse that I would be tending towards here would be more of a body-informed or being present with an issue, like those issues like, say, climate change or nuclear war. Just being present with them, but not, sorry, get rid of the word just, being present with them in a resourceful way and finding how I fit in with them as a particular person, how it fits into my nervous system and my way of making meaning, and then finding a way to either move forward with that particular issue or pick another issue that's more aligned with who I think I am. And that's kind of the sorting process. And I'll be doing a workshop online if you're interested. And you can check that out at anthonyindialogue.com. anthonyindialogue.com. You can check that out. There's one happening next Tuesday. There's one happening also in August. I was just saying it. 6:30. But the information is in if you go to the website, is in anthonyindialogue.com, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. These are introductory workshops. They're free. You're welcome to come in and do some work. And it hits it on a personal level, and then it hits it on you in relationship to some of these issues.
Let's have an example.
Okay. All right. So, well, let's just play. Okay, let's play with you.
Okay.
So,
I'm here. I'm here.
What's between you, and this could be anything,
Yes.
personal or larger, or it's all connected right now because we can get a sample. What's between you and having a great life, right, Mike?
I'm having a great life with you now.
What's between you and having a greater life?
I can't imagine.
See, okay, so I need someone like me to talk to.
It's you.
Michael is a prophet, apparently.
I'll ask you. I mean, I'm lucky.
Okay, you want to do one of mine?
In this relationship, I lucked out because I'm relating to you.
Okay.
And you, unfortunately,
All
have to relate to me.
That's okay. So you want to ask me?
Okay.
All right.
So what's in the way of you feeling great right now?
Feeling great right now?
Was that the question?
Oh, I went global. I went having a great life right now.
Oh, what's in the way of you having a great life right now?
Yeah, and I want to just before I'm going to go answer that question. I'm going to take a moment to sense into that question, but the question could be set up anyway. Like, what's you and being fully complete? Like, I'm using the word from maybe Gestalt philosophy. Like Gestalt goes for full circle. What's not full circle? What's not fully complete in your life?
Wow.
What's left out? Some integrity left out or something in the system. So you could frame the question any way. You could also, you could even go with the societal issues. What's between you and what's overwhelming you in society right now?
That would be.
But I want to kind of practice with more on the personal level first, so we feel more connected to ourselves, and then go a little larger,
Okay.
so we feel resourceful when we go there. So if you were
On a personal level, what's in the... Well, but I just wanted to say, in Focusing, by Eugene Genlin, who we both have personally met,
yeah,
it's a simpler question.
okay,
What's in the way of you feeling okay right now?
yeah,
And then we look, and we might feel something,
right,
and, feel where in our body we feel it.
yeah.
You wanted to do this?
Unfortunately, he's passed on, so I'm doing this right now.
Oh, okay.
And dialogue was, I remember doing dialogue myself in the 70s, and also when I had a major accident, but this is before Genlin, even before I got into Genlin, but definitely in the 70s I started doing, there's a lot of dialogue on before. Genlin has one version of dialogue.
Yes.
But he constructed it beautifully.
Yes.
And so it's great, but why bow down to another? I'm the guest today, not Genlin.
No kidding.
So I'm going to present my material.
Yes.
And if you want to bow to somebody else,
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't feel bad.
no, we could say
I just hurt your
No.
feelings. Oh.
we could say
Oh.
what's between you and not bowing to anybody.
Nothing. I could love to bow to everybody.
All right.
That's how they do it in India. I salute the God in you.
All right. So I can see the gestures in you tonight, and we may not make much headway here.
You're turning down the audience.
Well, I was going to ask you.
They were
Now you want to ask
hoping.
me? Can we get back to the
Yes,
question?
I
All right.
said, what's in the way of you feeling great right now? Is that the question?
Oh yeah, whatever. I mean, pick your question, not Genlin's question. Maybe not my question.
Okay.
Pick another question that's really connected to you sincerely.
Yes.
So take a moment to figure out what's the best question, but in that frame.
What's in the way of you feeling whole right now?
Okay, beautiful. Wow, I felt that actually when you said that. Let me take a moment with that question. It won't take too long because I know we're on.
No, you can. They have patience. They know
Okay.
it's you.
What's between me and feeling whole right now? Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Wow, I didn't realize this, but as I'm sensing into it, like I noticed, this should be feeling okay. I feel kind of okay, but then there was something. I was pulling my head back, and I realized I had a friend who died in Ireland a week and a half ago, and who was a beautiful musician and poet, and was a centerpiece of our village for decades. So his death just came to mind. So some loss, but it's a good loss. It's sort of like I feel connected, and I also have to send a message to his wife, send a card over there to his wife. Yeah, so I think I would feel caught up with myself, and this is maybe how I'm using the word all, if I communicated to her about him and connected and sent that off in the mail. So yes, I'm sending a letter, and yeah, so actually I'm just padded card. Yeah, so great. So let's stay with that question. I like that question because when you said it, I felt it. So we would ask a question. You want to ask that question one more time?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. But excuse me. So basically, I feel into the question that Michael's asking, which is a beautiful question, and I said, "Oh wow, I didn't realize him, that guy. I didn't realize that I wasn't. It was on my mind." So I have that down. That's one thing. So I put it aside. I don't get into it. So it's like going to a pond. Instead of jumping into the pond, I just stick my foot in, feel the temperature. I feel the temperature of that issue. And I say put it aside. Right now here, I'm just putting it over here on the desk. And now ask the question again.
What's in the way of you feeling whole right now?
I am moved by the way you're asking the question, by the way, for some strange reason. Oh yeah, wow. So this is almost segue feeling, but what comes to mind is the amount of information I took in today and reading some articles and the kind of like headiness of my existence today. And I had a number of things on, but then I as a break I read and I took in some information, stuff going on in the world, and sort of like I'm in my head about it, not in my body. So I would say the amount of maybe unintegrated information that I took in today makes me top heavy, and I'm not feeling into it. Yeah, thanks. So I think so doing a little bit of that to warm up into it. Let's get on a personal level, and then let's say we did 5 of those. And so that hits us on a personal level, and maybe we picked one, did a little bit of more work on it. I'm not going to do that here, but well, you could. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to do? Then we could go to a societal issue, and ask the same question, maybe your question.
Okay.
Because the question, I like the flexibility around. The question, I even like the Gestalt thing
That's
about Hall.
a hard question for the society.
Yeah, well,
We can go for it.
you could say, what in society do you not feel whole about, or something like that, some variation of that.
I mean, the real question would be, since we started with bad news, Noam Chomsky, what's in the way of the world being at peace right now? We'll just put that.
No, that's,
What's in the way of making, or more specifically, what's in the way of making just peace between Ukraine and Russia, or Palestinians and Israel?
that's a different kind of question. That's
Oh.
not what I'm doing.
Okay.
We could go to the question, what's happening in the world that, what do you not feel whole about that's happening in the world?
I mean, I'm sorry.
Because you went into an actual thing about peace between Ukraine and Russia, and you're forgetting me. You have to ask the person to tune into their body. It's not so, because that would be a head question. The articles I read today actually are in the spirit of that question.
Oh,
So that question, that last question, is a segue where is a social issue in itself, where there's so much information that I don't feel resourced around any of it, because I'm actually conceptualizing, taking in information about things and that are newsworthy, but are not integrated into my sense of, I don't have much capacity about it, although I can send donations out or that kind of thing. But so I have to do a body kind of dialogue to figure out where I fit in with that. But again, you wanted to be the facilitator here, so yet
I don't mind. I don't mind.
you want to
not
switch
being-
it to you?
No, I'm happy to do what we're doing.
Yeah, okay, but
Whatever you like.
uh,
I'm here to please.
okay. So let's switch for a moment
Okay.
because you're trying to do something that I'm teaching, and you have your own ideas about it.
I really don't. I'm just trying
Well, I
to.
can tell by the question you do. You conceptualize a particular way about this. You have it framed up a certain way.
Oh,
It's not the way I'm doing it,
okay.
and I'm presenting my way of doing it here.
Yes.
So, what's not whole for you in your life right now?
My life feels whole, though.
Okay.
I mean, what's going on in the world is I stayed up till 3 last night listening to the January 6th hearings. And I had 2 reactions, if this helps you. One was I was just riveted and fascinated, like I was watching great drama. And 2, thanks to you, when I thought about it, I felt like punching, crying, and screaming.
Okay. And?
Well, I don't know what to do with the punching, crying, and screaming.
Well, this is how you felt about it. This is
Yeah.
what you said.
I'd like to. I have a friend of mine who just goes to protests all the time, a very admirable friend.
Right.
But I not moved to do that. And she said she doesn't sure what's happened, what she accomplishes, but she's really an inveterate or a faithful protester. And one of Frederick Douglass's advice to social organizers, they said, what should we do? And he just said, agitate, agitate, agitate. He was a slave that taught himself to read and write.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I don't know how to agitate. I'm a teacher by heart and a writer,
Okay.
whereas my friend Lyndon Jenkins is really a devout protester.
Mm-hmm.
She went to line 3, sat in front of a tractor to stop them from doing what they were doing. Went to jail.
Okay.
So I don't know what to do with the feelings now that you've got me to feel them.
I didn't get you to feel them. You already had this set up for yourself.
No, if it wasn't for
No.
you, I would have just enjoyed.
I can see how you're used to doing this show by yourself because it really is hard to get into a dialogue right now with you.
Oh, we'll go ahead.
Because it felt like I asked you what's not whole for you in your life, or what's between you and feeling great in your life, and you don't want to play. So if you're not going to participate, you would have to participate. But if you are, since you are responsible for this show, you may not want to
No,
be
I'm
that
happy
vulnerable.
to tell me what to do. I'm
Okay.
trying to be a good boy.
What's between? You don't have to be a good boy. You just keep it real.
I'm trying to be real. That was to
Well,
me, is
why
being
don't
a
you
good
just
boy.
just kind of what are you feeling right now, as I'm talking for
a little
real?
sad that I'm not seem to be responding in ways that are working for you.
No, I mean you're saying interesting things as a talking head, but I mean they're interesting if we're like conversationally. But if this is more of I'm trying to get to more of a visceral place, but I can't find it hard to get
Well, my
started.
sadness feels visceral.
Okay. So what's between? So is your sadness okay, or is there something else you prefer? Does your sadness feel real and it's good?
Feels-
It's
it
good in
feels-
itself.
It feels real. It
Okay.
feels cheery.
Okay.
Or I feel real. I feel cheery.
Okay. And is there anything getting in the way if you're feeling really good right now?
I'm feeling good. I'm with my.
Well, so if I reverse the question, ask myself, is there anything getting in the way of me feeling really good right now? I would say, well, I'm feeling annoyed with Michael. I'm feeling annoyed with him, like it's sort of like a head conversation, and we can't get to this. So then I would put this down. I write annoyed with Michael for whatever reason that he whatever. When I'm with you at times, I feel heady. Sorry for that interruption. Put it on. Sometimes when I'm with you, I feel like it's a head trip, and I'm not feeling my body, and so I put that down as one thing. And then if I were to explore that more, I would say, okay, maybe I'd use. I mean, I have about 22 things here, but let's just say, let's go to the generalist thing, which I kind of know by rote from working with him. I would say, okay, well let me. I would say, be friendly towards this annoyance, be curious about it. Yeah, that would be there. Okay, already I feel a little bit more space between me and the annoyance. I kind of feel a little happier.
I can see.
Yeah.
Very.
So I have the issue, the annoyance. Now, we're not talking about a social issue right now, but we're socially interacting, so there is a social issue of sorts. And so there's creating space for the issue to be there, be the way it is, and then maybe even getting the issue from its point of view. So if there's an annoyance going on for me, let's say the annoyance is a thing unto itself, and what's its point of view around this? What is it about it that makes it the way it is? I would have to sense into that. And may get something, may not, but let me sense into that. And again, some of these questions might not make sense, so I have to kind of let them go too. I can't get a handle on them. Oh, okay. So I see that a little bit, that this is a place where sometimes my lack of tolerance for people comes in. And I might either shut them down or shut the conversation down and either move away or switch the subject or whatever. So this is where I thought I'd turn this off. Yeah, so I feel a certain impatience, and I feel in my throat, feel a little tension here. And I'm also getting a glimmer of, because of that previous question you asked about feeling whole, how some of the holding social issues in my head, like reading about them, makes me, and then going on to the next one without integrating the last one, going on, keep popping around to all this information overload, keeps me from feeling connected to the world. Like I have information about the world from whatever writer's perspective, and I have this information, and say, oh, that's an interesting part of a dialogue there, and that's an interesting part of a dialogue on another subject. So I'm popping around to different subjects without grounding them. So I kind of feel like with the body issue stuff, if I feel something and then put it aside, catch my breath, then go on to another issue, take in the particularity of that issue, how it's, how I'm relating to it, and then acknowledge that, ground it, and put it aside, and then go on. I notice that really helps. And then I take one of those if I want, and then I go deeper into it. And again, if this were a social issue, if I had already done that and grounded myself on a personal level, then if I go to what's seemingly an impersonal level, it's like issues in the world and climate change, and if I get into that and I feel overwhelmed, like when I get to climate change, I get this thing going on in my head too much, so I might go to one aspect of that. I might go to water or something that I can have a relationship with. I've been swimming last week, I'll be swimming this week, and so it's just kind of like the water thing, and I would feel into that. And that might be one thing, and then I go to something else inside of climate change. What else is I don't know, overwhelming inside of climate change? And I might get, well, I can't breathe where I live too much. I have to go out where there's more trees. I can't physically breathe. So I'm getting it on a personal level. It's happening in my own neighborhood. So it's close to home, and it's affecting my body every day. So not being able to breathe in my neighborhood because there's a whole bunch of new buildings, a lot of people have moved in, and then they've opened up a new gym there, so there's a lot more exhaust in the system. I can feel it compared to how it was like 2 years ago, or COVID. It was great. It was easy, a lot easier to breathe in COVID outside. So then I would get that one. That's the breathing thing, and put that aside, and then seek out another one. What else in the social issues or the climate change realm is bugging me? And I'd see if there's any more, and I'd put them down. And then I'd go back to one that's getting me. Maybe it's the breathing thing. And I would, again, get a sense of it from its point of view, but also be more curious about it, make space for it. But in the act of creating space around it, and being curious and maybe respectful and friendly towards it, this issue about breathing, instead of like being overwhelmed by it, it's like, oh, okay, it's out there. I'm creating space between it and me. I can begin, just in that move at all, just in that move to begin with, I can feel more resourceful right there. Less overwhelmed. And even though it's breathing and it's actual everyday moment, I can still feel some more breath, more space there. And then getting it from its point of view, and then I'm thinking, like, one question is, what's the worst case scenario of that? Not the thing. And it's like, I would say, okay, what does that feel like, the worst case scenario? Well, just can't breathe, it's just gonna, tension going on in my body if I feel into it. And then from this worst place, if I even ask a question like, what's a way forward from this worst place? And I noticed that yesterday, there was a time where I was in Newton, I was getting some acupuncture in Newton, and I noticed it was so easy to breathe here. And then I went back there, and now I'm aware of, like, I need to really visit places on a regular basis, like you and I, we're going to do the Arboretum at some point. So just go places where there's more trees, and just the breathing, the air is just different quality. So for the moment, in terms of that social issue of climate change, all I have going forward is me going to places where there are more trees and relate to nature, instead of saying, oh, let me get into the concept of climate change, when I'm not even actually enjoying nature enough on its own terms. I don't have enough of a relationship with nature. I can conceptually say, okay, let's do something about nature or climate change, but if I'm not actually enjoying what there is to enjoy, if there's the pleasure that's already at hand, rather than the doom and gloom aspect of it, if I can't actually enjoy the goodness of the thing, then maybe there's something off balance there. So an action step going forward might be that I make time each week to go into nature. Then I could take that on even more, even though I send out money to 2 environmental groups. Maybe I sense into what I also, for the time that's I'm left alive, that I really actually enjoy more nature and enjoy the climate as it is. And so that would be for me a resourceful step forward. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So, shall we do the other 2?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So, the fact that we might destroy ourselves according to bad news known with nuclear holocaust.
Yeah. So if I were to take okay, so let me fill that. Nuclear holocaust. I did, just to warm up into that one, that's such a, that used to be a bigger one in the consciousness before, but now it's up again. But it's not up strongly for me for some reason. But I was feeling some of it there with the beginning of the Ukraine situation was going on. I feel, oh shoot, what's going to happen? Is he going to pull the trigger or whatever and start something, really that we can't handle? So if I feel into that one a little bit, let me see. I almost don't feel much. What do you feel for that one?
Well, the word Holocaust is easier for Jews to feel ripped apart. I feel ripped apart.
Feel ripped apart? Okay, just stay with that. Stay with that, yeah. Wow. So just give it space. So give it space. So be curious about it. Oh, this ripped apart sense. That's really good. I like the tangibility. I like that visceral phrase, ripped apart. And that feels like the right phrase for you?
Painfully.
Painfully. Okay. So let's just give it space. Be curious about that ripped apart sensation or experience. be curious about it, maybe even friendly towards it, respectful towards it, but don't overly take it on. There's a little bit of a separation going on. Let the ripped apart thing have a sort of a life of its own. And what is it about this ripped apartness that makes it the way it is? So feel into that question if you can. Like, what is it about it that makes it the way it is? And you brought up ethnic situation there, but just what else is in there for you about that?
Really, my body exploding all over
Mm-hmm.
into the.
And if that happened, where would you be? That's the question. Where would you be?
I'd be everywhere.
So you wouldn't so much be worried about it, right? You'd be
Even after I was
ripped apart. So it's the anxiety of being ripped apart is maybe it's naturally stronger than the ripped apartness. It's a consistent
I
pain.
wouldn't like it. I believe my ghost could watch it, even after I die.
Okay, your ghost, what?
My spirit could, just like Hamlet's father came back and wanted revenge.
Well, your spirit could what?
Be,
Tormented afterwards?
let's see what I feel now. I would be feeling, or am feeling in my better moments for other people being ripped apart.
Yeah, but they would be ripped apart themselves in the same way that you would be.
Yes.
So the ripped apart thing is not so much the issue, it's the more of the fear of it.
No, it's the fact of it.
But the fact of it is you wouldn't
You
be...
can slowly be and see and send. You can watch it.
So ripped apart, I get it as a fast thing. So being slowly ripped apart, it's a different thing. I get horses pulling you in different directions.
Yes.
Um,
Some of us it might be a blessing to go quickly. Some of us might survive it for a
but
while.
survive it or don't survive it. So what's the... okay, what's the worst of it for you? Let's say the worst thing happens. Just take a moment. Let's say you do get ripped apart. Others get ripped apart. But you get ripped apart. What is that like?
Well, even on a small level, some friends dying, but if it was
So feeling the loss of those friends, an overwhelming loss.
not just the loss, but if they died painfully, that would be
What?
awful.
So if they died painfully,
I have a friend who's dying painfully now.
okay.
I'm a cheerful sort in part of me, and
Mm-hmm.
it would take me to do exercises like you here to feel how horrible my friend feels, which I can now.
Okay. Well, your friend is feeling, yeah, they're feeling what they're dealing with.
Yeah, they don't want to live long. And I'm used to it because he says that so often, my friend.
He says what?
I'm going to die this winter, or
Okay.
so I kind of got a bit. I freaked out maybe last time I heard it,
Mm-hmm.
but this time I said I'm not going to do that again.
Oh, okay, not freak out.
Right.
So part of you is getting somewhat, resourceful about it. It doesn't do you much good, right? I mean, let me ask you a question. From this kind of ripped apart place, let's just say your friends. That's getting a little bit more personal. That's kind of grounding it a little bit. So you already have seems like you've already taken a new resourceful response. Well, I'm not going to dip into that again.
Yes.
And so you're already resourceful there, it seems like. Yeah,
Yes.
so...
I still feel for my
Yeah,
but
you still feel, but you're not going to get lodged into his
I'm not
thing.
going to get panicked over the fact that he says he's going to kill himself.
Because he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, that is that's a tough one. That gets us a lot. If we're close to someone, that always gets us, right?
No, but
It's almost like a card to play sometimes.
Yes, not so much anymore.
Not so much
I
anymore.
sometimes fall for it, but
Yeah.
know that I remember.
Yeah.
No, don't fall for it, Michael.
Right. So on one level, and see, killing oneself is someone says that to us that we know. On one level, we almost like have to give them their self-expression. Like, okay, if someone says I'm going to kill myself, oh great, why are you going to kill yourself? And you excuse me, permission to have your experience that this is what
Well,
you're
the
going to do.
permission includes I'm killing myself because I don't have enough money. So
Oh, so there's a tag
yeah,
thing going.
there's a little hook on it.
Oh, it's a little hook, and you're the guy that they might imagine has something.
I
to give them.
have lent money to him in the past,
Right.
and I do not want to do it again. I told him I'll help create a GoFundMe. If you create a GoFundMe, I'll contribute.
Right. The GoFundMe is based on the fact that if he doesn't get funded, he could kill himself. So he would have a chance to go on a societal level and play that out.
Well, he might want to kill himself anyway. He's very
Yeah.
sick, but he'd like some money now to die in style.
I see. Oh, so he's got a bit of spirit about him.
Oh, he's a wonderful man.
Wow.
He's a great gift to me of my life.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Okay, so there's some joy in it and sadness
Yeah.
but some fondness.
Screaming, fun, and I'm protected myself in the past by not feeling the feelings so much, but now I am.
Now you are feeling the feeling?
Now that we're doing this, it's just.
But it's funny, you seem to have gone from the nuclear situation, the social issue, into a more personal issue. So you went a different direction that I wasn't expecting. But either way, it seems good. Because it seems like it grounds it on some level, and someone is going to actually die.
Maybe.
Maybe. But there's some joy in it too. There's some, like, it's not all doom and gloom. Someone is going to actually die, but there's some humor or spirit in the situation.
We're still closer than ever. We're friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I use that personal example as an example of what I feel in my better moments, if I felt it and just didn't think about it, about nuclear holocaust of the world.
Well, they're going to die too. Yeah, and it is a little suicidal too. The whole thing.
Huge.
Oh, huge. Okay, got it. Wow. Yeah. And so on one level, there's something, the way that you've learned to work with your friend a little bit, giving it space and say, oh, I'm not going to go there. Probably, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something similar with your relationship to the nuclear holocaust. I mean, we do...
Yes, I don't go there. I know it in my mind, but I just love the fact that I just started eating peanut butter and it's giving me lots of energy.
Right, so your focus is there.
Yes.
Yeah, because where we put our focus is what we're going to feel, to a certain extent.
And I tell my friend, Lyndon Jenkins, who can go to so many protests, I tell her, remember Emma Goldman said, if I can't dance, I'm not going to your revolution.
Oh, wow.
Or Patch Adams, the hospital clown, said, the most revolutionary thing we can do is to be happy and do random acts of kindness.
Let me ask you a different question. I like these people that you're quoting. I like these quotes, and at the same time I'm getting this feeling, let's say these people didn't exist or you didn't know about them.
Okay.
What would you say?
Well, I've been influenced by them, though.
Yeah. But let's just move them aside.
Yes, well, now I've learned from them that it's a justification for feeling blessed every day and happy. So I'm violating your request. That Dr. Patch Adams said that's the most revolutionary thing we can do, is to not buy into, as you were saying, the doom and gloom of my friend who tells me repeatedly he's going to die, he's going to kill himself, and doesn't. So now that I can still just have a good time with my friend, I can feel it, but I don't I don't want to let it bring me down.
Right. Okay. So you've learned how to do that a little bit.
And that even if the world is going to end, I don't want it to bring me down.
Okay. All right. So you've got a strategy to deal with it, and it seems like you're pretty tuned into a lot of these issues, and you're not hiding away from them at all.
I'm starting to see. I was riveted by the January 6th hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to almost all of it until about 3:00 last night. A recording of it. It is fascinating, but it can be fascinating like Macbeth is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And stuff that you're saying and other people are, and my friend Lyndon, of course, is I can't just enjoy how fascinating this is. This is my country and my world and my life and the life of people I care for in my better moments.
Right.
And this is...
Well, it seems like you can do both, because you do both. You're enjoying it, and there's also what can I do about it. It seems like you're able to keep your spirit in it. At the same time, you're curious about what to do with it.
I don't think I have the guts to really feel it the way... I'm so trained to not feel my horrible feelings because they would have done me in. So when the world feels horrible, I tend to look for the silver lining.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you, I mean, certainly there's there's a certain moralism involved, and but it seems like each side on the divide use the other person's moralism against them or something, or they like making one side feel, wow, well, this is the rule of law and you should do this, and I'm doing it. Like, okay, you can be, what's that word, outraged. Oh, they love triggering each other. I mean, it's like, and then we're like, we're watching this drama of my outrage, your outrage, and well, and it's going back and forth. And they're getting paid, and we're paying them, and so there is a certain, I don't know, even though it's really good that it's going on to balance out the situation and get perspectives on it and ground it in a certain way and get a different narrative that connects with, say, the rule of law. At the same time, there is a sort of a tinge of moralism and righteousness about it as well. And the other side, I think some people think that if they're outraged with something and they're righteous about it, that someone else it's gonna make the other person feel ashamed and guilty, whereas the other side doesn't feel much of anything. They're like happy you're disturbed.
It could be, yeah.
It seemed like that.
Sure.
And the people who are in the trance state of their outrage, and then the other side can get outraged too.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the trance state of their outrage, and they want to get other people outraged with them.
Yes.
It's like, wow, this outrage has a lot of power. It's like an electrical outlet or something. It's sort of, it's like the word rage is there and outrage, but it just seems a bit ungrounded on both sides. It seems a bit...
what would you say? I mean, I don't know if you've been following him. I mean, our former president was really attacking our democracy and the way we live.
Yeah.
And wanting to take it over.
Yeah.
And still might.
Authoritarian, yeah.
And still, this is not just the past, and still might. Mm-hmm. So we might be living on something like under Hitler or... Mm-hmm. Now that's beyond horrible to even imagine, although if I begin to feel that.
Yeah. But I think what's useful about it, like just on this other side, is that we've taken it for granted, and now we see that it can easily be trampled. Like there's a good thing that's happening here, it's just that we're not out of the fire yet. We're still in the fire, but in a way it's kind of like if it were just going on all preset and fixed, and we had this sense of security, I think it would still be a false sense of security, because even when things are fixed and secure, there's still manipulation going on. So at least this pulls the rug up for us to look at things anew, and it could create what's missing. Is it seems like sometimes the extremes on each side kind of have their way, but it could create some kind of dialogue in the middle Because now people have to choose the old president, new president, even though no matter
Oh,
which
yes, I
side you're
think the
on.
majority of Republicans do not want the former president to
Yeah.
be president.
So this
again.
is making people make some fresh choices and say,
Yes.
and they say out loud what they wouldn't say before. But a lot of times it's covert. But now people have to kind of,
Great.
where do you stand?
Great.
You know, so there's something good about that.
So the challenge
Yeah.
for me, from what you're saying,
Yeah.
is I want to not just intellectually be fascinated
Right.
by what's going on. I want to be more like Bad News Gnome, and at least I want to have the courage to feel the horror of it. Like a horror, I do. When I was 6, I used to go to the movies and bring a sweater, and anytime anything was scary, I'd pull up my sweater.
Right.
I'd like to not do that.
But I think
And have it galvanize me, like it does some of my activist friends,
right.
or my activist friend.
Well, so it seems like you want to be activated to take action or something, or
I'd like it to turn into a fuel that would move me to do all that I can to stop this nuclear threat, to stop global warming, to create more rational discourse between people.
Mhm.
I mean, I try and I teach nonviolent communication, wisdom from world's religions. I don't think I'm an activist at heart the way my friend is.
but it seems like you do it in a different way.
Yes, that's what yes.
Because the activist is sort of like has this implication of taking action, whereas you take discourse and ideas and you implement them into situations
Yes.
with people and you teach them. So that's a whole subtler kind of approach, which probably fits your personality. And the action stuff, well, I mean, that could be up for what does that mean? I mean, it's needed. What is an activist? And then I remember in Ireland, when I was doing a workshop like this, and a lot of people from Greenpeace from Germany were in there, and they were activists, but they were burned out, but they were afraid to go inside, and they came to the workshop because it looked like an inside place to go. Oh, besides my identity as an activist, who am I? And can I catch my breath there? And can I just find some resource there? Because I'm getting a bit burned out with this one-dimensional role of being activist. And who else am I as a person, as a human being? And a lot of these people were in their 30s. So there's something to be said. And then something else could come from there, but it could be a little bit more individualized than just whatever they were talking about before. My
hero, this is just one example of my model.
Yeah.
Thoreau refused to pay a penny tax because the United States was fighting the Mexican-American War. So we got Texas and California and New Mexico,
Right.
a typical U.S. So he refused to pay the tax for the war and went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that famous interchange where his friend Ralph Waldo Emerson comes in the morning and says, "Henry, what are you doing in jail?" And Thoreau looks out the bars and says, "Ralph, what are you doing outside the jail?"
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was a little incident, and then Emerson paid to get him released from jail.
Mm-hmm.
And Thoreau wrote about it.
Mm-hmm.
And by acting and writing,
Mm-hmm.
Gandhi read that when he was in South Africa.
Right.
It inspired him to do nonviolence to help the Indian community in South Africa, and then to do it against the British to help India be free,
Mm-hmm.
which inspired Martin Luther King to help the blacks be free in America, which inspired the women's movement who were helping the blacks. So what about us? So the little act of protesting the penny tax and writing about it, that was the heart of it. It had to be both.
Yeah.
On civil disobedience, a little pamphlet.
Yeah.
And that changed the world. And so that's my model, to do both.
Mm.
I think I'm weaker way weaker. I want to change now. I'm 81 now. I want to do both. I want to find causes that I can put my body, maybe not on the line, but in activity to help it succeed. One that struck me is have you heard of ranked choice voting?
Yeah.
So that one one that really moves different strokes,
Yeah.
move different folks.
Right.
I'd like to find one.
Find an activity.
And
An act of.
people have them, like Jerry Lewis used to have muscular dystrophy.
Right.
Many, it's I think a custom in Hollywood, if you're successful,
Right.
to have a cause.
Right. So it does seem though that So I'm looking at Central Square here in Cambridge, but it does seem like you do want. Well, that's useful. Just knowing you want one thing that you could unfold with more and
Yes.
put out, rather than catch a lot of stuff.
Yes, I think I would need.
And so knowing that is a way forward, and
Yes.
staying with that and keeping an eye out for that.
Yes.
One thing that you're not just spread out like chicken manure.
And I might try ranked choice voting again. It didn't succeed. They managed to put it on the ballot
Mm-hmm.
in 2020, but it didn't make it.
Yeah.
It made it in Maine. It's made it in. I think Maine might be the only state that it's made it in. But then
So you might like it again. You might.
I'll have to think of if I.
You might want to get
like
behind it again.
I didn't like it much,
Mhm.
but I have to find one that I love teaching. You know that.
Yeah.
But so something I love as much as I love teaching.
Okay. And okay, but it's like you don't know yet.
No, I don't know
Okay,
what it will
good.
be. No.
All right, good. But having the desire for a singular
Yes.
cause that's good in itself. That's
Yes.
a good comma place for
It
now.
might be the Native Americans here. My friend Lyndon's going to introduce me.
Okay.
Might be some things in that.
Well, it could be that you put things out and you sense into them, go to another thing and you sense into it,
Yeah.
and see what actually moves you in your system.
I like much more. Remember, we had psychic sufferers.
Yeah. It's funny, I was thinking about that earlier today.
Oh, one of your fans, Melissa. Do you remember Melissa?
Yeah, she should come back.
She's going to visit in August. She wants
my
to have.
gosh.
She wants to have a psychic
Oh,
suffer.
that'd be great. Yeah.
So for our audience, we used to get together and share psychic experiences, and that would, I'd love to have psychic experiences to change the world. That's more my style.
Yeah, and then that involves synchronicity or things that are like, you can feel something on the inside and see something on the outside. So it's hard to know what it all is.
In the 60s, I believe they circled the Pentagon and prayed. That's more my kind of activity.
You like that?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't do that one, but I did march with Martin Luther King.
Well, I think the psychic stuff seems to have such a allure sometimes because people maybe don't see how just normal and natural it is, and we're probably having these kind of experiences all the time, but we dramatize them because,
I pray every
we
day.
get our heads around it and then we write books from it.
I
but-
pray every day with my activist friend. Stanovit vojnu se čas. So Putin would understand. Stop war now. Now I'm saying it on major television networks, so it might spread.
Right.
See, that's more my kind of. This is more my kind. I'm sorry, but at 81 I can get away with it. This is more my activity. Say it on television with my friend Tony. Stanovit vojnu se čas.
Is that Russian?
You Russians, stop war now.
What is war? What's the word for war?
Stanovit vojnu.
Oh, I see.
I don't know which
News
it,
now.
I don't know which it is. Se
Stop
čas.
war now.
I have to ask my friend Adam Frost, who speaks Russian. And it's a great computer man. But
So does saying that give you some power? Or articulating it feels good?
I like it, but I mean, maybe I'm just what is it called? A rocking chair activist, something like that.
A what?
Rocking chair activist. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's dangerous to be in comfort. I mean, life, as you know, is such a struggle, and finally, it's not as much of a struggle for me now.
Yeah, but I think also taking too much information about too many issues in the big world is sort of dangerous too, because we're disassociated.
Yeah.
Or feel inept and impotent about any of them. So doing like the subtle way, or finding a way that's closer to us, like you went nuclear war and then you went to your friend, and something that we can personalize with is a way forward. If you can personalize with it.
Yes, if I can really.
Yeah. So I think it's something, and it could be something that surprises you.
Yes.
But there is maybe something on teaching, and maybe even teaching directly about societal issues and finding a way to teach it.
Yeah, you're doing that.
Yeah, but maybe for you, since you love teaching in a more formal style,
Yes.
maybe that might be for you as well.
Yeah.
Like, just putting it out there. Or you can borrow from whoever you borrow from, and put your own spin on it.
Thank you, Anthony. Well, we only have 1 minute. You can leave our audience with your wisdom.
Right. Well, I would say the way Michael went at nuclear war, I went back to his personal friend who was maybe going to commit suicide if Michael didn't help him.
No, it has nothing to do with me. No.
There's something about, we went from the larger issue to a more personal issue, and again, if it doesn't have both in there, it's all interconnected. So I would just say, I would guess sense into it or feel into it, like what is the connection here? But it's a question to sense the connection rather than to presume it's already there. And I think by questioning into it, we create more and more connection, by delving into it. So that's it. I would leave it at that in its own shaky way.
Thank you, Anthony Donahoe.